Okie dokie. This is my silver Christmas card edition. So I love sparkly paper. And I'd seen something similar in this concept with regards to using vellum with this card, which also looks very pretty, kind of gives that sheer effect. But then you have to be worried about where to put your glue dots. So I designed this card instead, and this is using the Whimsical Woodland 3D embossing folder, and then the Hope and Peace stamp set, using the silver metallic foil set. So this is the combination pack. So it kind of gives you 3 different varied looks using 1 pack of paper. You can see that this one is kind of almost like it's hard to tell. It's dull, kind of like a dark gray, bright silver, like metallic-y, and then kind of an in-between. Again, slightly darker silver gray, but still has that metallic finish. And I think just using the metallic paper, it's so thick that it just takes that embossing folder so well. So it's this one with all of the trees. And if you're wondering about how to set up on your Big Boss, you end up putting your base plate in. Then your embossing folder goes on top next, slipped with that paper in between. I've already done it because it's so hard to do it on video. So you would take this paper and put it in. Tips, make sure that you can read the Stampin' Up logo, as well as that your paper, so your paper is facing up towards the logo, and that when you put it in through the Big Boss, that you have the folded end going in first, and then you would top that all off by putting your gray plate on top. So this one only has this one does not have the shim plate in. It's only the really thick plate, embossing folder with paper, and then the gray plate. So those are a couple of tips there. This folder is really neat in the fact that it kind of has different designs. So I'm not sure, I'll show you the cards in a second, but you can do a card up at the top or versus the bottom, and you get kind of it does repeat a little bit, but it does look slightly different. So you can kind of get a different card or like a slightly different design just by adjusting where your placement is. So for example, you can see like here you have this tree on this one, whereas this one you have more the ones with the garland. Okay. Okay, so to start, okay, so I have my Granny Apple Green, and on top of that, I've already pre-embossed my layer of silver paper. Put that on. Next, I used the red and green ribbon from the Holiday Mini. It's the Real Red and Garden Green combo pack. So for this one, I think I'm going to use, you can do whichever one you want. I think I'm going to use the red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my ribbon. It's just past the length there. Put a little bit of adhesive on either side. Wrap my ribbon around. Okay. And then from there, I'm going to get my dimensionals. Now my trick always is to put a dimensional partially on my ribbon piece and partially off. And that's just to kind of do a bit of an extra tack on that ribbon, because I know it's not going to slip or fall off. A couple more in the corners. Just like so. That over. Then I'm going to take my ribbon and just slip it through that loop because it hasn't been glued here on the front. Do a knot, and then do a snip at an angle, snip at an angle. Done. And then I used my Hope and Peace stamp set. I used both the With Love and Hope and the Merry Christmas. So with the Love and Hope, I had punched that out with a white 1-inch circle, and then I had this green one in my stash of things. And otherwise, I used my Merry Christmas, and I had a couple of different punches in my set. I think they're from, trying to decide if any of them are current. But long story short, it's like a punch, just kind of gives some ripples. I think one was like Lovely Label, and I think this one was tailor made from a couple of years ago. So the really nice thing about this Merry Christmas, it'll fit on probably anything in your stash, or you could just do a straight, like a rectangle there as well, as if you don't have any punches at home. I already stamped that with my Merry Christmas. Now this one I'm going to probably too many dimensionals. I didn't think about it when I put the dimensionals on. I suggest putting your dimensionals on not on the left and right hand side, but rather than top and bottom. And the reason for that is if you're just putting it on the left and right hand side, it's going to end up adhering only to the ribbon and not to any of the paper behind it. It's like that. And then I have my jewels. So for this, I use the red and green adhesive backed pearls. And I think I'm going to use, so these ones have a couple of different shades in them. There's gold, there's silver, red, and then I think it's soft sea foam color. Let me just check here for you. Just looking at my book, page 31. Oh, it's soft succulent. So cherry cobbler, soft succulent, silver, and gold. So I think for this one, I am going to use my silver. And so then I took off 3, and I just picked the top of 3 of my little trees in the background and just put them on the top. So it adds, like, depends, like if you use like a contrasting red or gold, it gives a bit more contrast. See them there. This one I used the silver, but it's the just slightly darker silver paper, so it looks really pretty. It's harder to see on the screen. It seems to give a little bit of reflection. This one had silver as well. And then this one had this soft succulent. Anyways, again, if you're kind of wanting to generate a bunch of cards for Christmas quickly, this one makes some really beautiful cards. And I think the fact that you're using the silver paper really jazzes it up and makes it look super Christmassy and special. Anyways, have a wonderful rest of your week.